Welcome to another episode of Sports and Discourse with your host Derek Stevenson, and I got a real special guest, my local Los Angeles resident Robert Hayes on the line. Man, Rob, what's good?
What's good, man? What's good, man? Not much, man. Just out here enjoying, a day after Christmas in sunny LA.
That's what's up, man. Happy holidays to you, brother.
Hey, thanks, you too.
But you know who it wasn't a happy holiday for? It wasn't a happy holiday for the Los Angeles Laker fans, man.
Hey, I know, man, I know. And it's not funny, but I mean, ever since they changed to crypto.com, man, they it's looking worse out there.
Yeah, man. They currently on what, a 5 game losing streak.
Yes, sir.
So for everybody, I'm sure everybody already knows this, but Christmas Day matchup, Nets versus Laker. At the beginning of the season, man, this was billed to be one of those special matchups. Like everybody had circled this on the calendar. Um, but it really didn't end up the way we thought it was going to end up. We had a lot of injuries, COVID protocols, and it really ended up being a little disappointing because a lot of the stars were not available to play. Anthony Davis injured, Kevin Durant, COVID, Kyrie Irving still trying to figure out his situation, if he's going to play or not. So ultimately, we had James Harden, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and a whole bunch of other guys, man. So when you was watching the game, man, what did you think?
I mean, there's there's a glimmer of hope for Lakers fans. I feel like when you have LeBron James. Um, but at this point in his career, I mean, he can't take on the whole load. And look, now I know LeBron. I mean, he's great, but looking at them play looking at them play a Brooklyn team without Durant, um, getting killed by Patty Mills, um, LeBron getting dunked on by Claxton, um, getting killed by a bunch of bench players, and look, I just feel like the Lakers. It's just old. They're just old. They can't keep up with these young guys. Westbrook, I mean, he's horrible. Um, as far as a spot on somebody's team, just to fill a roster spot, to have a vet, to say you have a vet, yeah, you can put Westbrook on there, but he's not somebody that can carry you or help you get to the next level. And Carmelo's slow. Um, LeBron James had to do everything by himself. And you know me, I'm not somebody who tries to give excuses to LeBron and the LeBron fandom out there. But I mean, it's just something he has to deal with. This is what he chose. This is exactly what he chose.
Yeah, man. He actually did play pretty well. He had 39 points, 7 assists, and 9 rebounds in 40 minutes. I think that might be one of the problems. I think he's at this point in his career, man, he has to play too many minutes. I feel like 40 minutes is just a whole lot to try to just grit out the game. If they want to if they want to have anything left for a playoff push, they're going to have to start trying to figure out a way to limit his minutes. But I don't know if they'll even make the playoffs if they do limit his minutes, man, cuz it seems like they need every little bit out of him, and it's still not really working. They they actually got 20 points from Malik Monk, but I just don't know how far you can go with Malik Monk being your second leading scorer on the team, man.
I don't think that's going to happen very often with Malik Monk being the being the second leading scorer on your team. I don't think that's going to happen too often. Um, I feel that Anthony Davis being injured, obviously we know that that's a huge hit, and bringing Anthony Davis on the Lakers was supposed to be that next. LeBron was handing the torch down to him on the Lakers. Hey, I can't do this by myself. You're the next big thing. Uh, Here, take the load. Little did he know that Anthony Davis is, what does Charles Barkley say? Street clothes. He's always in street clothes, injury prone. And this year he's proven to be not as much as a big man as we'd like him to be.
And you know what? That's one of the reasons why I feel like Anthony Davis gets injured so much, man. I feel like he needs to stop playing out on the floor as much as he does, because I feel like the more, now don't get it twisted. I feel like a lot of big men are so versatile in today's game, but I feel like they stay hurt a lot because they're out in the middle of the floor trying to do guard moves to get to the basket. And I feel like they would just be so much more successful and so less likely to catch an injury if they would just stay under the basket. But I just don't think Anthony Davis wants to play under the basket. So I feel like he's always going to battle injuries because of that.
Right. And I also feel like that being a big man in the NBA, because when we saw Anthony Davis in college, he was just bigger than everybody as far as height. So there was a lot. I mean, obviously, there was a lot of things he can do to spread the floor. But at the same time, when you're in the NBA, you can't just be bigger than everybody as far as like height. Um, because there's people out there that's, I mean, 10, 15 pounds heavier than AD that can push him around in the inside. And when you take a look at it, look at Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, he can shoot, but also he's way more productive in the paint. And he knows that. And that's what you have to get Anthony. You can shoot outside. We know you can take it there, but we need you to take it there when we need it. We don't need you to be outside all the time because that's not who we are. When the Lakers won in the bubble, they were bigger than everybody. That's that was their identity. They were bigger than everybody. They can out rebound you. And now, since they don't have these players that can shoot on the outside, it just doesn't make any sense now. I mean, the
One of the
teams are better. Yeah.
one of the things that I feel like, speaking of shooting outside, whenever you look back when Anthony Davis played at Kentucky, Calipari made him stay under the basket, and that's when he was arguably the most productive in his entire career. Outside of, when he was in New Orleans, he was dominant, but he wasn't winning. But when he was dominant and winning in college, he was underneath the basket, and I feel like it was kind of fool's gold in the bubble, like you said, because they had several big men, so they could still play a lineup where they could always have another bigger person underneath the basket and let him stretch the floor. But now they don't really have as much depth with the big men, and the Lakers are shooting way too many threes. They shot 35 threes and they only hit 28%. And I think that might be what's hurting the team. Their overall field goal percentage was low, but they shot too many threes, man, and they just really don't have a good shooting team, in my opinion.
Not at all. And even bringing Westbrook, look, I know we call Westbrook West Brick, but even bringing him in, it's like you'd want him to drive the ball to the basket as much as he can. I know he turns it over and he tries to shoot outside and he makes these horrible mistakes that you make in sixth grade basketball. But at the same time, LeBron picking him up was probably thinking, hey, even though we may not be able to shoot outside, your motor is 100 miles per hour up and down the ball court, and that's what we need. And when we can't get to the basket or I can't get to the basket, you can. Unfortunately, Westbrook is getting to the basket and not finishing.
And
And yeah,
and that's one of the things that stood out to me is, if you watch a lot of Westbrook's turnovers this year, a lot of times it looked like he's not seeing the play unfold. He doesn't have good court vision. Like he's running to a spot and he gets caught a lot with no options. And real good point guards usually have a feel for being able to sense how the play is going to develop. So when they drive to the hole, they usually have a purpose. They either know that they've already beat the man and will be able to get a shot off, or they can anticipate where the help is going to come from and have players dive into the basket and they can dish it off for easy buckets. But Westbrook just seems to put his head down a lot, drive to the hole, and get stuck. And it does cause a lot of timely turnovers. And last night, they had 13 turnovers, which was only 3 more than the Nets. But the thing is, the Nets outscored them in the paint 56-54. But the Nets hit 43% of their threes, which was what I thought was the key to the game, man. They just outshot them. And the Lakers just going to have to figure out a way, in my opinion, to get away from the three ball as much. And Carmelo Anthony was their third leading scorer, but he only had 17. They just really can't get enough production. They have a whole bunch of old spot up shooters, but they really don't shoot the ball well.
Right, right. And to add on to that, spend a lot more time. If they can't keep up with these young guys on the court, they should. I feel like they should spend a lot more time running an offense that's pinpoints on the paint. So whether AD is in or not, maybe you can get somebody like Dwight Howard or even LeBron James, put him inside. LeBron James, he hits those threes in clutch a lot of the times. But at the same time, I feel like wasting the clock so your team could get some rest while they're out there on the floor will kind of help a lot of those fast break points on other teams because the other teams are young. These guys are young, and LeBron is old, Carmelo is old, Dwight is old, Rondo is old, Westbrook is old, and not to, I mean, Westbrook, there was a part of me that kind of felt like he has a lot of pressure being on the Lakers. I mean, he's back home. He's on the Lakers, which is a championship winning squad. That's what they want to do. They want to win now. They don't want to win later. He has a lot of history from getting to playoff positions and not finishing. So I feel like there's also a lot of pressure where he may be thinking too much when he's playing out there.
I agree, man. He might be forcing the issue a lot. Um, I was actually impressed with James Harden, to be honest with you. He seemed like he looked like he was in a little better shape. And honestly, he ended up with 36 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. But I feel like there was a lot of times that he drove to the basket and he didn't get calls that he usually gets. And I think that's a good thing for the NBA because I feel like in last night's game, if he would have been getting all the calls that he normally got, he might have did something terrible to the Lakers. He might have went for 45, 50.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. But I also think that even though they're not calling those, James is like, you know what? I'm gonna still try to get them anyways. They're gonna have to call one. And I mean, I think it's good for the game that they're not calling those because it slows it up. But at the same time, he's still gonna try it, and I can't fault him for that.
And another guy, man, that killed him, obviously, you mentioned earlier, was Patty Mills, man. He played lights out. He had 34 and 7. And I mean, man, it just looks bad for the Lakers because I feel like when you playing the Nets and Kevin Durant is not there and LeBron James is on the other side, no matter what, the Lakers is supposed to win that game, in my opinion. And they just struggling so bad. Like right now, they are sitting currently in 7th place on a 5-game losing streak, and they have the easiest schedule left in the NBA. So if you starting off the back end of the season on a 5-game losing streak with the easiest record, it's very possible that they could slip out of the playoffs, man. What would that mean to LeBron James' legacy if they slipped all the way out of the playoffs at this point?
I don't think it would mean anything to his legacy other than the Jordan LeBron debate will be over. There's no debate. I mean, you know, we're Jordan today to no end. But
Absolutely.
it would just end that it would just end that debate. That's all it would do. LeBron James will still be cemented in the legacy of one of the greatest players of all time. But when it comes to Jordan versus LeBron, he needed consistency. And one of his biggest issues is he's not consistent in winning titles. So I think that's why they went and got some players that were vets and maybe they knew how to win games. It's just scoring points is the biggest thing for them. And to piggyback off of that, I know you kind of remember about me talking about the preseason. And
Right.
I had mentioned this in the last call we did, but the preseason, the reason why I tell people the preseason matters to me in context to the Lakers is because they went 0-6 in the preseason. I felt like even with Anthony Davis or LeBron, maybe not with one of them on the floor, they should have beat some of those teams in the preseason by just even being out there. And by them having games where all of them played and they didn't win, that said something to me. The Kings went, I think they said the Kings went 4-0 or 6-0 in the preseason. But the Kings are not LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So to me, that kind of meant a little bit more that the Lakers went 0-6 and they were losing to teams that they should have just even walked out there and beat by shooting a horrible percentage. So that's what I meant by the whole preseason thing matters. And I mean, look at it now.
Yeah,
They're
man.
seventh place, and it's showing.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to finish, but let's just say they finish anywhere from 7-9. They could potentially be matched up with the Warriors, Suns, or the Jazz. Do they have a chance to beat any one of those three teams?
You know, I'm gonna say I want to say no, but things can switch somehow, some way. Things can switch somehow, some way in LeBron James' favor, and it can just click. So that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why I feel like Laker fans or even a lot of analysts, sports analysts, are not counting them all the way out yet. Is because I mean, if they get that seventh, if they get the last spot and they play one of these top teams, you have LeBron James, and he's been in those situations, um, in playoff situations, his whole career. And to have Anthony Davis to have those weapons, Westbrook has been Westbrook during the season, but maybe in the playoffs it might change. So I think that's maybe what they're banking on. Um, I do think that's a bad thing sometimes when LeBron fans and LeBron is just kind of like, oh, don't worry, I turn it on in the playoffs, don't worry. But it has happened in the past. So I do think they have a chance. I'm not going to count them out. I do think they have a chance.
I You can't never count LeBron out. You're right about that, man. But I tell you what, man, the Warriors and the Suns looking like they probably would have no problem with the Lakers, man. We'll see how it goes. It's just kind of disappointing to see the Lakers struggling so bad, man. It almost makes me want to have a little sympathy for LeBron, man. I tell you what, if I didn't have so many arguments with his fans, I probably would feel a little bad for him, man. But right now, this is I don't know, man. This is just crazy. I never seen a team constructed like this where I feel like they had an opportunity to bring in guys that probably would have just overall been a better fit for the style of LeBron James. And the thing is, normally LeBron has been really good at putting players around him that complement his game. And I
Mhm.
feel like this was the first year where he just brought in a few guys. Like I'm okay with Malik Monk. I feel like when I watch him on the court with LeBron, I feel like they kind of play good together. Um, when Malik Monk is handling the ball, he can get it to other people. But when he's playing off the ball, he seems to find a way to get in the right spots for LeBron to get him some good looks. Um, so I don't necessarily think he was a bad pickup, but I just feel like they have too many players on the court that kind of just get in each other's way and don't compliment LeBron. And I think it's just making the game really hard on him right now at his age. I know if you paid attention to it, when Westbrook got that one ball on the corner and he drove to the lane and tried to dunk with his left hand and he bricked it, LeBron James kind of just threw his hands up like, "Come on, man! Like I'm sitting right over here, get me the ball." I honestly think Westbrook. I mean, he got where he needed to get. He just didn't finish. But I think LeBron throwing his hands up, I think he was just kind of throwing it up like the whole season. Like it just everything that can go wrong for the guy is just going wrong right now, man.
You know, I wanna say I feel bad for LeBron, but I don't. I mean, he's had it his way though his whole career. He's had it his way. I mean, yeah, in the beginning, he got on a Cleveland team that wasn't winning, but then he went to Miami. They stacked the deck together. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven. They won some titles there, came back to Cleveland, had Kyrie, had Kevin Love, had a hell of a team. Then went to the Lakers, brought over AD. They had a look, if they would have kept some of the young people, because nobody can tell me that some people say, oh, it's not LeBron, it's Rob Pelinka. No, 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 no. If they're going to make a move, they're going to discuss it with LeBron.
Absolutely.
There's no way they're just making a move and say, you know what? You just got to deal with it, bro. They're going to discuss it with LeBron. So that's why sometimes when I see these players getting traded or whatnot, and then they're like, oh, I'm not mad at LeBron. I'm not mad at this or whatever. They may not be. But at the same time, when you look at people like Caruso on the Bulls, who is playing extremely well, Lonzo playing extremely well, um, Randall, I understand that LeBron wants to win now, but he's not winning now. He won one in the bubble. Granted, all of the uh, injuries and a lot of things that helped them win. Um, but at the same time, having some of those pieces, they they would have been a hell of a team. They would have been a hell of a team um, if they had stayed. Even the team last, if they had stayed, Caruso and all those guys, if they had stayed, they would have been a hell of a team. Defensively, they were amazing. So I don't feel bad for him. He's had it his way his whole career. He can do what he wants. He's LeBron James. He's not leaving LA. Um, and he's not going back to Cleveland. There's some rumors that he's possibly looking to go back to Cleveland, but he wants to stay out in LA and make Space Jam 3. He wants to make another horrible Space Jam movie.
Right. So at this point, man, is there anything that they can do to turn the season around, or they just gotta wait and hope that AD can come back and be healthy, and they can just try to make a push just to get in the playoffs? Do you see any trades or anything? Is there anything possible they can do?
I don't think they have any value in any of the trades. I mean, I heard about trying to get Ben Simmons, but they don't have any money or value for that. I mean, why would I want to give away Ben Simmons for Russell Westbrook? Oh, who? No, heck no. Um, I don't know who they could get. I think they should just run with this team. And at the end of the day, if I was LeBron, I want my titles. I'm one of the great. So if we don't win this season, we don't win this season. We do it next year. I think he wants to stay in this league to play with his son one day, hopefully. So I think they should just let it be. I mean,
Well,
they can probably turn it around if they just stick with it. Maybe something will spark. Because when we were talking about the playoffs earlier, if they say they get the Warriors, they make it to the playoffs and they get the Warriors, and they split the first two games, that momentum can carry. So it's always something like that that can carry through. So, um, I'll just stick with the same team because it's going to be another chemistry experiment if they bring in somebody else, and then the excuses are going to be back again. So,
well, there you have it, man. Guess we can go on and wrap this one up then, man. I appreciate you calling in and rapping with us, man. I'm sure I'll hit you back sooner than later, man, and we'll have to make another progress report on the Los Angeles Lakers, brother.
all right, man. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it, man. You're doing a good job with the show, man. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. We'll get back at it.
All right, man.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
Later. You too.